So majestic it is. Beethoven's Symphony No. 9, the Scherzo. This is vk3sl. We're testing here on 160 and also on UHF. Afternoon test sessione. We do this on Fridays, Saturdays and Sundays when we can, and late night on Friday we have our meta missions where we sort of go to town with all manner of historic material. It starts at 11:30. So do tune in on 160 on 1868 kilohertz or on 147.475. We use VHF presently for the late night sessions, but we may be moving to UHF soon, so watch this space. And of course there is a blog spot as well with all the details about the station and about these tests and the nature of my pathology. This is a zone where we don't take ourselves seriously. It's just an outlet. Chance to exploit the collection here and to meander along and have a bit of a chin wag when people are about. That's the nature of it. Nothing too serious. Well, it's a time-honoured tradition to start off with music from the 1920s. We go way back and beyond, and today I'm looking at the file, and what do we have? Yes, we have the 4 Bright Sparks. And that was an interesting combination of musicians, including 2 fiddle players, and they were making records around about 1928 to 1930. With this particular record is I'm on a Diet of Love, vk3sl.
Watch me smile, oh so happy all the while. You should try it, I'm on a diet of love. Breakfast kisses, such a bunch, sweet embraces for your lunch. It's a riot, I'm on a diet of love. One thing that makes it great, you can have more than your share. It don't affect your weight when you have that bill of fare of sweetness, hugs for dinner, never hurt, and some patent for dessert. You should try it, I'm on a diet of love.
Bright Sparks and a track called I'm on a Diet of Love. It was recorded for Columbia back in 1930. And it featured the Mauritius-born concert fiddle player Jean Pugno, and who later became the leader of the London Phil in the 1940s. Interesting sort of background there. And the other guy was Ed Sidday, two fiddle players, and the band was led by Van Phillips, saxophonist, and Lou Abelardo was the vocalist. There we go. A few insignificant details there. It's the theme song from Happy Days. Not the Happy Days that most of us remember, an earlier Happy Days stage show. Testing here on 160 and UHF this afternoon. That's 438.725, I think. And also streaming online. And we're just using nostalgic source material to warm the airwaves. Let's move on. The Six Hottentots. Red Nichols, Miff Moll, Jimmy Dorsey, Joel Tarto and Vic Burton. Sometimes I'm happy.
Depends on you. I never mind the rain from the sky if I can find the sun in your eyes. Sometimes I love you, sometimes I hate you, but when I hate you, it's 'cause I love you. That's how I am, so what can I do? I'm happy when I'm with you.
Six Hottentots from 1927, featuring a very young Jimmy Dorsey, amongst others. Red Nichols, Miff Moll on the trombonium. And we played quite a few Dorsey tracks last week, and one jumped out at me during the week. In fact, it's one of my very fave songs. I love the melodic shape of the song, and it's sort of, I don't know, it does something to me. It must be in my DNA or something. And it's a track written in 1931 called Dream a Little Dream of Me. Now, this song sort of went through many incarnations, and it's now quite a sort of celebrated jazz standard. But I've always been interested to know what the earliest recording of it was. I've got a 78 here of Ted Rafe. I might play that shortly, but we'll have a listen now to the Dorsey Brothers Orchestra, a recording they made in 1931 of this piece, Dream a Little Dream of Me. vk3sl. vk3sl. Queuing.
Breezes seem to whisper, I love you. Birds singing in the sycamore tree. Dream a little dream of me. Say nighty-night and kiss me. Just hold me tight and tell me you'll miss me while I'm alone and blue as can be. Dream a little dream of me. Stars fading, but I linger on, dear, still craving your kiss. I'm longing to linger till dawn, dear, just saying this. Sweet dreams till sunbeams find you. Sweet dreams that leave all worries behind you. But in your dreams, whatever they be, dream a little dream of me.
The Dorsey Brothers and Dream a Little Dream of Me from 1931. Some very smooth trombone playing there by Mr. D. I want to play the trombone like that. In fact, I went to a concert last week at the Con last Saturday. It was a free concert. It was great. It was all the brass department doing a showcase, and they had on stage about 20 trombones. And they had this trombone choir, and it sounded absolutely glorious. It sounded incredible. I was just transported. And I love the sound of smooth trombone playing. And I used to play the trombone back in the 80s, and I still got it. It's under the piano, and I want to learn it again. I've got my Arbin method book, and I might start practicing. I think it'd be good to play the trombone. It is such a beautiful instrument. Anyhow, we just heard Mr. Dorsey, Tommy Dorsey, playing the trombonium on that recording, and we're sort of featuring the song because it just does something to me. I love the song. In fact, the kids have been singing it all week, and that's what sort of prompted me. They've got their own upbeat modern versions, but yeah, I'm still in the dark age here. Testing here on 160. We'll look up the list. We'll find another version. We can find a broad context. Let's have a look at... Oh, here we go. This is the official version of the song. Ozzie Nelson, and a slightly more sort of short, chopped, different interpretation of the work. And this was the first, according to the discographies.
you. Night breezes seem to whisper, I love you. Birds singing in the sycamore tree. Dream a little dream of me. Say nighty-night and kiss me. Just hold me tight and tell me you'll miss me. While I'm alone and blue as can be, dream a little dream of me. Stars fading, but I linger on, dear, still craving your kiss. I'm longing to linger till dawn, dear, just saying this. Sweet dreams till sunbeams find you. Sweet dreams that leave all worries behind you. But in your dreams, whatever they be, dream a little dream of me. Dream a little dream of me. Sweet dreams till sunbeams find you. Sweet dreams that leave all worries behind you. But in your dreams, whatever they be, dream a little dream of me.
Ozzie Nelson and the orchestra, and the very first recording of Dream a Little Dream of Me, made back in 1931. And a flurry of interpretations of this work appeared shortly thereafter. I first heard the song when I was a young teenager, and I picked up a Regal 78 in an op shop somewhere, and I've put it up on YouTube quite some time ago. So I'll cut to the chase. This happens to be my favourite version simply because I heard this one first, and I do like the sense of line, and I do like Smith Belew's vocal. He was amazing. Let's have a listen to this version. Hey! That's not fair. That's not fair. It's jumped to the... Oh, I know what I've done. I've put two tracks onto the one thing. This is my own upload I'm referring to now. I'm lazy. I should have got the real 78 out, and then we wouldn't have had any issue at all. So I'm queuing while I'm speaking here. So we'll just quickly find the spot, and I reckon we're there. Here we go.
shining bright above you. Night breezes seem to whisper, I love you. Birds singing in the sycamore tree, dream a little dream of me. Say nighty-night and kiss me. Just hold me tight and tell me you'll miss me while I'm alone and blue as can be. Dream a little dream of me. Stars fading, but I linger on, dear, still craving your kiss. I'm longing to linger till dawn, dear, just saying this. Sweet dreams till sunbeams find you, sweet dreams that leave all worries behind you. But in your dreams, whatever they be, dream a little dream of me.
Yes, I know. We're getting soppy serious here. Yeah, I know. I can't help it. I'm just in that sort of mood today, sort of deep nostalgia. I like this piece. I listened to it a lot when I was young. It's something about the melodic shape, something about its flavour. I don't know, but it resonates. Now, we can jump ahead a couple of decades just to sort of brighten things up a little bit. There are a lot more freer versions of the piece from different times. I think Peggy Lee made a recording of it. So let's investigate. We can find this if we look on the list here. Where's the list? It's gone. My list. It's disappeared. I can't find it. So there we go. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Here we have it. No, it's not Peggy Lee. It's Doris Day. Let's have a listen to Doris Day. Recorded in the 50s. A generation later. Same piece. Same pathology.
Stars shining bright above you. Night breezes seem to whisper, I love you. Birds singing in the sycamore trees. Dream a little dream of me. Say nighty-night and kiss me. Just hold me tight and tell me you'll miss me while I'm alone and blue as can be. Dream a little dream of me. Stars fading, but I linger on, dear, still craving your kiss. I'm longing to linger till dawn, dear, just saying this. Sweet dreams till sunbeams find you. Sweet dreams that leave all worries behind you. But in your dreams, whatever they be, dream a little dream of me. sunbeams find you, sweet dreams that leave all worries behind you. But in your dreams, whatever they be, dream a little dream of me. Dream a little dream of me. Dream a little dream of me.
So Doris Day singing in the bathroom, Dream a Little Dream of Me. That's her take on a classic song from the early 30s. That was recorded in the 50s, and yeah, she always sounds like she's singing in the bathroom, Doris Day. But yeah, classic 50s fare there. And we're sort of just looking at a portfolio of Dream a Little Dream of Me presentations by different artists and different times. We can jump ahead now to the 60s and hear, with a sort of upbeat flavour, what the Mills Brothers were doing with the same song.
Stars shining bright above you, night breezes seem to whisper I love you, birds singing in the sycamore tree, dream a little dream of me. Say nighty night and kiss me, just hold me tight and tell me you miss me, while I'm alone and blue as can be. Dream a little dream of me. Stars fading while I linger on, dear, still craving your kiss. I'm longing to linger till dawn, dear, just saying this. Sweet dreams, the sunbeam finds you, sweet dreams that leave all worries behind you. But in your dreams, whatever they be, dream a little dream of me. Stars fading while I linger on, dear, still craving your kiss. I'm longing to linger till dawn, dear, just saying this. Sweet dreams, the sunbeam finds you, sweet dreams that leave all worries behind you. But in your dreams, whatever they be, dream a little dream of me.
How many ways to interpret a piece? And that was Mills Brothers' take on Dream a Little Dream. And yeah, I almost got it out of my system, folks. It's sort of lingering and I'm nearly there. There's one more. Just one more. And I can see everyone reaching for the off button, but just stand by, we'll hear one more. It's Louis and Ella. Now, I'm sort of not that partial to Louis Armstrong after 1930. In fact, most of his career, he sort of just regurgitated the same thing. Unfortunately, he was tremendously inventive in the 20s, did unbelievably groundbreaking things. In fact, he defined jazz in many respects. He was just completely and utterly groundbreaking. But then he sort of, I think the hashish got to him, actually. I think that's what it was, something. And he just sort of regurgitated the same thing. He could have gone anywhere. He had such a creative flair, but that's what happens. I suppose, yeah, he was making bucket loads of money. Anyhow, he did do, however, some fantastic collaborations with other artists, much younger artists. And amongst those is Ella Fitzgerald. So we'll hear this. This is quite special. I know this recording from way back, and it's quite a beautiful collaboration. Now, someone here on the online posting fraternity says Ella's voice sounds like summertime and sunshine on a lazy Sunday afternoon. I can certainly vouch for that. This is vk3sl testing.
Stars shining bright above you. Night breezes seem to whisper, I love you. Birds singing in the sycamore tree. Dream a little dream of me. Say nighty-night and kiss me. Just hold me tight and tell me you'll miss me. While I'm alone and blue as can be, dream a little dream of me.
Stars fading, but I linger on, dear.
Oh, how you linger on.
Still craving your kiss.
How you crave my kiss.
Now I'm longing to linger till dawn, dear. Just saying this.
Give me a little kiss, sweet dreams, till sunbeams find you. Sweet dreams that leave all worries behind you. But in your dreams, whatever they be, dream a little dream of me.
Buzz, 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 stars fading, but I linger on, dear. Still craving your kiss. Yeah, I'm longing to linger till dawn, dear. Just saying this. Sweet dreams, dreaming
till sunbeams find you. Keep dreaming.
Gotta keep dreaming.
Leave the worries behind you. But in your dreams, whatever they be, you've gotta make me a promise. Promise to me you'll dream. Dream a little dream of me.
That was Ella and Louie, an inimitable performance of Dream a Little Dream of Me, a hit song from 1931, which we've regurgitated over and over, listening to a variety of different interpretations of the piece over the decades. This is vk3sl. We're testing here on 160 and on UHF and streaming online. And if you want to have a listen online where it's all hi-fi and spick and span, you just have to go to YouTube and look up my call sign, and there it all is. There's a live feed and there's a log, and it's all there for perpetuity for no one to look at, which I completely understand because this is an indulgence and it doesn't really mean much, but that's okay because stuff happens and we can't take ourselves too seriously. I went to a seminar today. In fact, it's one of those sort of self, what do they call them? One of those days where they give us all motivational speakers and tell us about how to live our lives and what to do. And yes, it was all very life-affirming and great messages, but the one message I did take home was that we can't take ourselves too seriously. And I think that that is very important, and that's one of my mantras. I talked about mantras, but as soon as we start to take ourselves seriously, we start to get caught up in the expectation racket and everything comes undone and life just becomes one, I don't know, quagmire. We just got to pretend we're young children and just play in the sandpit. That's my philosophy. Because really, inside all of us, there still is a young kid, I think. All right, Lucky Dip. I pulled out a record, and it's a Carinia European disc. No idea. It says the Carinia. Let's make it the Corona. The Corona Piano Accordion Orchestra from Budapest in the 1940s. I think it's post-war, but anyhow, it's a tango, so it has to be played. So I'm going to slap it on the table. These records usually had very small holes in them, so they're hard to get on. I have to get these headphones untangled. Onto the table, into the groove, and carl off we go. Hey, that last chord didn't resolve. I was expecting it to resolve to the tonic. Ah, okay. Well, we're going to fade that down. Another one out of the batch happens to be an old Decca, the Supreme record, and a track called It's a Big, Wide, Wonderful World. Well, it might have been in 1933, but a lot of stuff's happened since. But here we go. We're going to wrestle this record. I have to wrestle it off the turntable because the hole's too small. That was the what was it? The Corona Piano Accordion Band. And let's have a listen now to the Unitones with George Mitchell, directed by George Mitchell. I have no idea what this is. This is just completely out of the box. But I like it that way because you never know. Sometimes we get surprised. It's a well-worn record. That's usually a good sign.
Wonderful world you live in. When you're in love, you're a master of all you play your games and to fall. There's a brave new star-spangled sky above you. When you're in love, you're a hero, follow the wizard of Oz. sky above you. When you're in love, you're a hero, Apollo the wizard on. You've a kingdom, power and glory, oh, there's some stories with you. You built your Rome in just one day. Life is mystic, a midsummer night. You live in a certainty like you're in heaven. It's swell when you're really in love.
Nah, it's a bit too Sound of Music for me. Yeah. Okay, I suppose. We took a punt with that one. Some of them work, some of them don't. We might put that one in the op shop pile. What else? Another one from the same batch. I do know this record, but I have not heard it since I was young. And it happens to be Bob Crosby's Bobcats and the Big Crash from China. Well, that's a familiar phrase these days. So, without any further ado, listen to this drum solo. Bob Crosby and the band, and that was the Big Crash from China. vk3sl testing here on 160 and on UHF, and just a reminder that we do have our late night session tonight. I haven't been in touch with Frank this week, presuming everything is okay in his neck of the woods. Hello Frank, if you're there, and we'll communicate, I suppose. If you have any ideas, just drop me a line, and I do. I've got a bit of an idea, but I'll keep the listeners in suspense. I won't even offer you a teaser. We'll wait until that. There's a famous soprano, who made some great recordings which have been uploaded this week, and they are definitely late night missions fodder. She has an extraordinary voice. So yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see if we can unpack that theme. Well, at this stage, I've got to go inside. I've got to start making the hamburgers for dinner tonight. I'm on dinner duty, so I need something to sort of play while I'm chopping stuff up and getting things ready. Now, last week we had a feature on Jethro Tull, and we listened to Thick as a Brick. Fabulous album. It's not a concept album. In fact, it's the antithesis of a concept album, according to Mr. Anderson. But in fact, it's a parody of a concept album. But so I think he struggled with this whole idea of what was a concept album. There's certainly got a narrative about them, and the tracks do have intertwining themes. I'd like to play Aqualung, which was an album they put out in 1971, I think. Anyhow, but it's again, it was accused of being a concept album about religion. And but according to Mr. Anderson, it certainly was not, and I think that Thick as a Brick came out as a reaction to the response to Aqualung. But anyhow, I'd like to listen to Aqualung. I'll put it on shortly. But prior to that, I'd like to have a listen to Mr. Anderson himself, the creator of all of this, and sort of folk rock. I don't know how to sort of pigeonhole this. And I originally came to this genre through exploring medieval rock, and which is an interesting subgenre, but I don't know if they really fall into that category. But it is certainly narrative, riff-driven, and quite acoustic, and I do like this band. It's great. I love the solo flute. I think the flute is just amazing. Ian Anderson has a real gift for that, adding flavour to his performances, and obviously a great gift as a writer as well. Anyhow, we'll have a listen to Ian Anderson himself, and a warm hello to Mr. W who's listening, Mr. VCL is listening, and also to John Fleming, who I caught up with today. I had a lunch break and I dashed out and caught up with John. It was really nice to see John, and John's helping me with a gramophone horn. I've got a Columbia AH gramophone from 1904 with a rusted out horn, and it needs to be reconfigured. Quite a job. It needs a tinsmith, and John, one of the people who work with John, is a tinsmith, and it looks like we might be able to forge a pathway. It'll be wonderful to get that machine going. The rest of it's in lovely condition, except for the horn, which is rusted. Yeah, that's another story. Yes, I get sidetracked. I'm all over the place. Spaghettified. Now we're going to do a U-turn, a screaming 180 degrees turn, and into the parking bay that says Ian Anderson talks about Jethro Tull and etc., etc., etc. A radio interview from 2001.
Guest this week is a gentleman who is part of a band who are celebrating the 50th anniversary of their classic 1971 album. That album is Aqualung. My guest this week is Ian Anderson of Jethro Tull. It's My Planet Rocks with my guest this week, Ian Anderson. Welcome back to Planet Rock, sir.
Well, nice to be with you again.
Always a pleasure. Do you know, I don't know how I missed this bit of trivia. I know you're originally from Scotland, and I always thought Jethro Tull were a London/Luton band, but you're actually a Blackpool band. Is that right?
Well, it's right and it's wrong. I mean, there were three members of the Blackpool band, which was then called the John Evan Band. Myself, John Evans, the keyboard player, and Jeffrey Hammond, the bass player, from, let's say, 71 through 75, 76. It grew out of a Blackpool band. It morphed into Jethro Tull with two Luton or Dunstable-based musicians, Mick Abrahams and Clive Bunker. And that was the beginnings of the band Jethro Tull. And so Jethro Tull we became.
Well, I can say it's quite a unique name. It's the old agriculturalist from yesteryear, isn't it, Jethro Tull? Is that right?
Well, I know all about that now, but when our agent suggested it back in 1968, I thought he made the name up. I thought it was just some funny name. Like, yeah, all right. But it just so happened we stuck with it. So I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 weeks after that, I then learnt to my horror that this was, we'd been named after a dead guy who invented a seed drill, which didn't seem like a passport to instant success with the audiences of the day. But they, like I, probably didn't do history or that period of history at school, so they were oblivious to it as well.
Yeah. Well, what were some of the names that fell by the wayside, or even some of the worst names that didn't make it?
Well, the first time we played at the Marquee, it was under the John Evan band name. We might have appeared as Ian Henderson's Bag of Blues, a misprint, but Henderson, whatever, you know. Give us the gig, I'll be whoever you want, even Jethro.
You've chosen Johnny Kidd and the Pirates. Now, I really like this song. It's one of those. I always remember the album cover. You had Johnny Kidd with the black eye patch. You've gone with the classic Shaking All Over. I mean, he was an influence on so many rock and rollers in this country and beyond. Why have you gone with this one?
It was the first song that really grabbed me as out of that 3-minute pop song stuff. It sounded a bit angry. I remember many years later persuading Van Morrison, who was at a bit of a loose end. And so I said, you know, let's go and record Shaking All Over. And he said, yeah, okay. So we all rehearsed it and got everything together. And then for some reason, I think he chickened out. And we never did do Van Morrison remake of Shaking All Over. But he would have been great. It was just absolutely the right song for him.
Johnny Kidd and the Pirates and Shaking All Over on My Planet Rocks, and my guest this week, Ian Anderson. Working with Van Morrison, feel free to shatter the myth, but I always seem to see him as a grumpy man. He always never seemed very happy. Is that just a public image thing, or what was he like?
Well, I suppose he's like all of us. You know, you catch somebody in a good moment and they're cheerful. And when we met him, he was going through a bit of a bad patch, I think, just kind of finding his place in the world. And he seemed a bit lost and wasn't quite sure what direction he wanted to go musically. And I find him, you know, rather sensitive, charming soul. But subsequently, I think I ran into him somewhere else, and he completely blanked me. And it was in an airport, I think, and the grumpy man thing was absolutely to the fore. And I said to one of his bands, this was in an airport departure lounge, I said, he seems in a bit of a bad mood today. So I got the full story as to why Van was in a bad mood today, but we didn't go into that. But yes, we're all the same. You know, you could be. I'm sure there are people who would, you know, describe me as a, you know, unfriendly, nasty person if they just caught me at the wrong time, especially if I'm sitting in a restaurant trying to have my lunch and besieged by some well-meaning fan who just seems oblivious to the fact that you're trying to eat your lunch. It all depends, but you know.
So 68, the first Jethro Tull album comes out, and that, if I'm right, I wasn't there, but I'm sure that was the same year that Tony Iommi had a spell with you. How did that come about, and why was that short-lived? I mean, to me, it seems obvious because you're chalk and cheese of what he then went on to become and the routes you took. But how was that union? How did that come about?
Well, it was chalk and cheese also in terms of what Jethro Tull had been in that first 8 months or so of being Jethro Tull, when Mick Abrahams was the guitar player in the band, being a great blues guitarist and singer. You know, we had been very much put into that pigeonhole of being a little old blues band with a slight quirky oddity of having a flute player stand in the middle and wobble around on one leg. But it was definitely chalk and cheese with what would have happened if Tony had become a permanent member of the band, because his musical style was completely different to Mick's, and you certainly wouldn't call Tony then or now a blues guitarist. He didn't do all those licks and play that sort of stuff. He was very monophonic, big single note things, and the band that he played with, called Earth, who then became subsequently Black Sabbath, you know, he was just so different. But it would have radically changed the way Jethro Tull's music had gone. It would have changed the way I wrote songs, because the batch of songs that became our second album, Stand Up, in 1969, you know, I ran through a couple of things with Tony, and it seemed it was not his cup of tea, the shape of those songs that I was working on. And you know, but he was a great guy, and you know, I was enamored of his guitar playing when Earth played with Jethro Tull at some gig in a university somewhere around I should think November of 1968, and I just thought, wow, you know, that guy might well have something to offer. And indeed, Indeed, he did. He offered it to the world, and lives not too far away from me. And the scary thing is, Tony still looks like Tony, whereas I don't look like me.
Another great British band you've chosen, The Animals, House of the Rising Sun, which seems to still be popping up in various films and TV shows.
I'm sure it keeps Uncle Eric in some degree of comfort in his Palm Springs desert retreat. Yeah. In fact, I played the flute with a string quartet and Eric Burden. We did House of the Rising Sun on a big German TV show called 50 Years of Rock. Just make it a little bit more than just a string quartet sound. But Eric was in fine voice and, again, charming person who I expected to be rather surly and unpleasant, but, he was a very nice guy.
Animals, House of the Rising Sun on My Planet Rocks, where there will be more from my guest, Ian Anderson, shortly. It's My Planet Rocks with my guest this week, Ian Anderson, formerly of Jethro Tull. It seems weird to say that because technically you're on your own now, so it's almost like you're a former member of Jethro Tull. I'm not quite sure the correct grammatical way of putting it. How would you define yourself at this time?
I have been performing as Jethro Tull for whatever it is, 53 years or something now, and it's. There are things that I've done which have been released as solo albums. There are things that have been Jethro Tull albums. But in terms of performing the music, most of the time, is Jethro Tull in the sense of repertoire that we've recorded, then, I call it Jethro Tull. So do promoters and so do people who think of the band not just in terms of who happens to be the drummer or the guitar player. And you've got to, there's 36 members of Jethro Tull over the years. It would be disingenuous to call it Jethro Tull.
We seem to have an inadvertent theme about grumpy men. You've chosen a Cream song, and that, I don't think there's any debate. They had the ultimate grumpy man in Ginger Baker in there. I mean, films and documentaries made about his grumpiness. Beware of Mr. Baker. I mean, come on.
Well, I actually performed with his grumpiness, sadly, on one of the very last times. I think he attached himself to a drum kit, which was at the commemorative tribute concert for Jack Bruce, who had passed on the previous year. And surprisingly to me, Ginger Baker turned up, because, of course, Jack and Ginger were just constantly at loggerheads in the Cream. And Eric Clapton, who was the peacemaker, we are told, and seemed to be the guy who steadied the ship, and he didn't come along, and I was rather disappointed he didn't, because I think Jack deserved to have Eric there.
Yeah, absolutely.
rather than Ginger, who unfortunately just threw tantrums all the time and stormed off in the finale halfway through Sunshine of Your Love. He just got off his drum kit and left. So his grumpiness was in true to form that day. I mean, I didn't know Ginger personally, but I had to go and plead with him to just calm down and come back to the drum kit, which he did at half time in the intermission, but then unfortunately at the end he lost it again and threw a big wobbler and off he went. So it wasn't a great fitting end, but I suppose Jack would have been chuckling in his beard, I think, to see Ginger true to form let the side down once again.
You thought the leaden winter would bring you down forever.
Cream and Tales of Brave Ulysses on My Planet Rocks with my guest this week, Ian Anderson. Now, I inadvertently stumbled across these lyrics, and I know it was the 70s, and there were substances and alcohol flowing around, but I mean, Mother Goose. I'm just looking. If you start your raving and you're misbehaving, you'll be sorry. Then the chicken fancier came to play with his long red beard, and his sister's weird. She drives a lorry. Now,
it sounds like a prog song.
Were you just sort of? What were you thinking? Was there any? Was it just throw words at the wall and see what fits?
Well, I've always been as a songwriter. I tend to work from pictorial images. I do remember in the summer of 1968. You know, it was a beautiful, wonderful summer, and it was. I remember going out on Hampstead Heath and wandering around, and it was the dying era of the hippie time. So people were wearing colourful clothing. Everybody was being a bit silly and airheaded and whatever. And I extrapolated upon those visual references to do a piece of music that I suppose was colourful and fanciful.
Into the 80s, the Metallica Grammy incident, which almost, for many that didn't know Jethro Tull, it was a blessing and a curse, that, because you win the Metal Performance Grammy beating Metallica, and yes, there's all the, Jethro Tull, they're not metal, but it, in many ways, put you on the map with people who'd not really heard of you. So overall, even looking back all these years later, it wasn't a bad thing at all, was it?
Well, it's an embarrassing thing, because our record company had, along with probably every act on the label, had pushed us forward to be in the nominations for a Grammy that year. And I think people were just so shocked and surprised nobody really said anything, on the grounds that, oh, well, don't worry, they're not going to win. And the fact is, if I'd been there to a crazed full house of boos and hisses and how dare they, it would have been interesting. I've no idea what I would have said when I walked up there, but I did subsequently meet Alice Cooper, who was the guy who was pushed on to accept on our behalf the Grammy that we shouldn't have won. And
wow.
I said, what did it feel like, Alice, going up there and having to do that? And he said, it was just the worst moment of my life. He said, as if it was my fault, he said, you won the Grammy. But, I live in hope that there'll be another new category in the Grammy Award system. Sooner or later, they're bound to, bite the bullet, do the obvious thing, and have a new category for best one-legged flute player. I'm
and then Metallica will win it.
Yeah, that'd be great, wouldn't it?
You've chosen Foreigner Head Games. I mean, Mick Jones, crikey, he was churning out hits for his band. He was, writing with Eric Clapton in the 70s and the 80s. I mean, Head Games you could have chosen any number of Foreigner tracks. Why this one?
I didn't really know Foreigner. I did get to know Lou Gramm once, because I was the instrument of getting him invited onto a big German TV show. He is, for me, still the all-time great singer that I could never be. And if there was one person whose voice I would love to have been blessed with, it would be Lou Gramm. But, of course, with an English accent.
Of course, yeah. Head Games, Foreigner on My Planet Rocks with my guest this week, Ian Anderson. Now, when I last saw you, about 6 years ago, I remember we talked about it, and you told me this. I found it amusing then as we were on the way out the building. Of course, Andrew Lincoln of The Walking Dead is your son-in-law, and I remember you saying 6 years ago, and it was pretty big then, you said, there is almost zero crossover. The Walking Dead fans have very little to no idea about Jethro Tull, and most Jethro Tull fans have little knowledge of The Walking Dead. Has that changed in more recent times?
No. I think it's just a really a generational gap there, and Andy got up and sang with me in Christmas fundraiser at Worcester Cathedral, and I said, well, you choose what you'd like to sing, because he'd never sung in public ever before in his life, and he chose the Pogues. And, of course, it's a duet for a girl and a boy. I said, well, how are we going to do that? And then I hit upon a master plan, because my other guest was Mark Armand. And Mark's just wet his pants at the thought of being on stage with Andrew Lincoln, the Rick from The Walking Dead, and jumped at the chance to do that. And he said, oh, yes, can I be Kirsty? Because, of course, Kirsty was the female singer in the original. And I said, of course you can, man. That'd be great. So they rehearsed it, had a couple of run-throughs in the afternoon, and it was great. They were fantastic. It was a really good improbable duet.
Well, we should finish by briefly touching on the future. I mean, there isn't a calendar year goes by at the moment without a substantial anniversary for you. I mean, of course, this year's 50 years of Aqualung, which you're marking. I mean, next year will be 50 years since Thick as a Brick, and 40 years since The Broadsword and the Beast. So that's the next project you're working on, and the view to perhaps getting out and doing some live stuff again, I would presume.
Well, yes, I mean, we've... throughout 2020, we just played a game of constantly pushing things later into the year, and then finally into 2020, and we are now halfway into 2022 with rescheduling shows from the first part of this year. And so this is just a constant reshuffling of it's heartbreaking, really. I mean, not just heartbreaking for me and the band and the crew, but heartbreaking for the fans who yet again are then told, I'm afraid this is being postponed till December 2022. It's not what you want to hear, but I'm more hopeful about our UK tour in September taking place, because that doesn't involve anything to do with Brexit or visas or work permits or carnets or any of the COVID testing and uncertainties of foreign travel. For me, it's just, jumping on the train to go to Bath, Reading, Aylesbury, Leicester, Brighton, London, Poole, Perth, Glasgow, Stoke-on-Trent, Blackburn, and then home again.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure as always. Looking forward to hopefully seeing you out on the road this September. All the dates are on our website. And LA Mode, the 40th anniversary edition, is out next week, if I remember rightly.
I did have the 15th of April as a release date for the album, the A album package. That's right.
Yeah, well, it's been an absolute pleasure, and may we continue to see you when we can, where we can, as often as we can.
Yeah, well, look forward to it, and thanks for having me on the show, and good luck to you, and stay well and safe.
Rumors spreading round, United takes its time.
And there endeth another My Planet Rocks, thanks to my guest Ian Anderson at Jethro Tull.
And there we have it, Ian Anderson. And, that was quite revealing. Well, I'm hard at it in the sink area. I'm having to prepare the dins, so I'm going to find Aqualung. Let's find it. Here we go. Jethro Tull, Aqualung, the full album from 1971. So kick back and enjoy. vk3sl testing.
Sitting on the park bench, eyeing little girls with bad intent. Snot's running down his nose. In the cold sun, watching as the pretty panties run. Hey, Aqualung, feeling like a dead duck, spitting out pieces of his broken love. Oh, Aqualung, sun streaking cold, an old man wandering lonely, taking time the only way he knows. Their curtain bed as it bends to pick a dog end, it goes down to the bark and warms his feet. Feeling alone, the armies of the road, salvation at the moat, and a cup of tea. Aqualung, my friend, don't just start away uneasy. You poor old sod, you see it's only me. Do you still remember a December's foggy freeze, when the ice that clings onto your beard was screaming agony? Hey, and you snatch your rattling last breaths with deep sea diver sounds, and the flowers bloom like mangoes in the spring. Sun streaking cold, an old man wandering lonely, wants to pick a target, he goes down to the bog and warms his feet. Feeling alone, the armies of the road, Salvation Alamo, got a cup of tea. Aqualung, my friend, don't you start away uneasy. You poor old sod, you see it's so good me. Aqualung, my friend, don't just start away uneasy. You poor old sod, you see it's only me. Sitting on the park bench, eyeing little girls with bad intent. Snot running down his nose, greasy fingers smearing shabby clothes. Hey, Aqualung, drying in the cold sun, watching as the frilly panties run. Hey, Aqualung, feeling like a dead duck, spitting out pieces of his broken luck. Hey, Aqualung, Aqualung. rather make it with a leching cream. Or maybe her attention is drawn by Aqualung, who watches through the railings as they play. Hey, cross-eyed Mary finds it hard to get along. She's a poor man's rich girl, then she'll do it for a song. She's a rich man's stealer, but her favor's good and strong. She's the Robin Hood of package, help the poor man get along. Hey! Laughing in the playground gets no kicks from the little boys. But rather make it with a leching green. Or maybe her attention is drawn by Aqualung, who watches through the railings as they play. Cross-eyed Mary goes jumping in again. She signs no contract, but she always plays a game. She dives in hands and village on expense account and rule. And the jackknife barber drops her off at school. Hey! Cross-eyed Mary.
On present platform, do your soft shoe shuffle dance. Brush away the cigarette ash that's falling down your pants. And then you sadly wonder, does the nurse treat your old man the way she should? She made you tea, asked for your autograph. What a laugh. As I did walk by Hampstead Fair, I came upon Mother Goose. So I turned her loose as she was screaming. And a foreign student said to me, was it really true? There are elephants and lions too in Piccadilly Circus. By the bathing pond to try and catch some sun. Saw at least 100 schoolgirls sobbing into handkerchiefs as one. I don't believe they knew I was a schoolboy. And the bearded lady said to me, if if you start your raving and you're misbehaving, you'll be sorry. And the chicken fancy came to play with his long red beard and his sister's witch to drive the lorry. Left down by the button green, I popped him in their hose. 4 and 20 laborers were laboring and digging up their ground. I don't believe they knew that I was Long John Silver. Johnny Scarecrow make his rounds in his jet's black Mac, which he won't get back, stole it from a snowman. As I did walk by Hampstead Fair, I came upon Mother Goose, so I turned her loose as she was screaming. Bathing pond to try and catch some sun. Must have been at least 100 schoolgirls sobbing into handkerchiefs as one. I don't believe they knew I was a schoolboy. Wondering aloud how we feel today. Last night sipped the sunset, my hand in her hair. We are our own saviors as we start, both our hearts beating live into each other. Wondering aloud, will the years treat us well? As she floats in the kitchen, I'm tasting the smell, yeah. Of toast as the butter runs, then she comes, spilling crumbs on the bed. And I shake my head, and it's only the giving that makes you what you are. To the cinema and leave you in a wimpy bar. You
tell me that we've gone too far, come running up to me. Make the scene at Cousin Jack's, leave him to put the bottles back. Mends his glasses that are cracked, well that's one up to me. Hey. Buy a silver cloud to ride, pack the tennis club inside, trouser cuffs hung far too wide, well it was up to me. Tires down on your bicycle, you know it feels like an icicle. The yellow-fingered smoky girl is looking up to me. Yeah. A common working man, with a half of bitter bread and jam. And if it pleases me, I'll put one on your pan when the copper fades away. Oh, it's up to me. Season comes to pass, the day-glow pirate sinks at last. And if I laughed a bit too fast, well, it was up to me. Take you to the cinema and leave you in a wimpy bar. You tell me that we've gone too far, come running up to me. Hey. People, what have you done? Locked him in his golden cage. Golden cage. Made him bend to your religion. Him resurrected from the grave. From the grave. Is the God of nothing, if that's all that you can see. You are the God of everything, He's inside you and me. So lean upon Him gently and don't call on Him to save. You from your
social graces. Whoa, and the sense you're used to wave. You used to wave. The bloody Church of England in chains of history. Requests your earthly presence at the vicarage for tea. And the graven image, you know, with his plastic crucifix, he's got him fixed. Confuses me as to who and where and why, as to how he gets his kicks. He gets his kicks. Confessing to the endless sin, the endless winding sounds. You'll be praying till next Thursday to all the gods that you can count.
busy with his money games. Oh, his women and his guns. But Jesus saved me. And the unsung Western hero, he killed an Indian or three, and then he made his name in Hollywood to set the white man free. Ah, Jesus saved me. Ow. If Jesus saves, well, he'd better save himself. From the gory glory seekers, we use his name in death. Ow! Oh, Jesus save me. If Jesus saves, oh, well, he better save himself. From the gory glory seekers, we use his name in death. Ow! Oh, Jesus save me. Yeah. Well, I saw him in the city and on the mountains of the moon. Yeah. His cross was rather bloody. Oh, and they could hardly roll his stone. And Jesus saved me. Yeah. Ow. Well, the lush separation enfolds you, and the products of wealth push you along on the bow wave of their spiritless undying selves, and you press on God's way to your last dime as He hands you the bill. And you're spinning in the slipstream, tideless, unreasoning, paddle right out of the mess. And you paddle right out of the mess. shuffling madness of the locomotive breath runs the all-time loser headlong to his death. Oh, it feels the piston scraping, steam breaking on his brow. Oh, Charlie stole the handle, and the train it won't stop. Oh, no, it could slow down. Sees his children jumping off the stations one by one. His woman and his best friend in bed and having fun. Oh, he's falling down the corridor on his hands and knees. Oh, Charlie stole the handle, and the train it won't stop going. No, it could slow down. The silence howling catches angels as they fall, and the all-time winner has got him by the balls. Oh, he picks up Gideon's Bible, open at page 1. I thank God he stole the handle, and the train it won't stop. Oh, no, it could slow down. 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 When I was young and they packed me off to school, and they taught me how not to play the game, I didn't mind if they groomed me for success or if they said that I was just a fool. So I left there in the morning with a God tucked underneath my arm, the half-assed smiles and the book of rules. And I asked this God a question, and by way of firm reply, he said, I'm not the kind you have to wind up on Sundays. So to my old headmaster and to anyone who cares, before I'm through, I'd like to say my prayers. I don't believe you had the whole damn thing all wrong. He's not the kind you have to wind up on Sundays. Well, you can excommunicate me on my way to Sunday school and have all the bishops harmonize this love.
when I was young, and they packed me off to school, and they taught me how not to play the game. I didn't mind if they groomed me for success, or if they said that I was just a fool. So to my old headmaster and to anyone who cares, before I'm through, I'd like to say my prayers. Well, you can excommunicate me on my way to Sunday school, and have all the bishops harmonize these lines.
This is a test transmission from
I don't
vk3sl.
believe you. You had the whole damn thing all wrong. He's not the kind you have to wind up on Sunday.
That was a bit of a sudden finish there. I was inside. We'll just play the last couple of moments of that again, and we'll say our cheerios until tomorrow. Should be back tomorrow. Probably not Sunday. I'm going to a concert on Sunday, but do tune in tonight. Tonight at 11:30 we'll have our late night missions, and we'll be dialing up all sorts of goodies. So thank you for your indulgence. vk3sl.
Headmaster and to anyone who cares, before I'm through, I'd like to say my prayers. Well, you can excommunicate me on my way to Sunday school, and have all the bishops harmonize these lines. I don't believe you. You had the whole damn thing all wrong. He's not the kind you have to wind up on Sunday.